I can see it.
I can see you. Hi, Sue. So
Hi,
nice to be
Jan.
together with you again.
Great. Yeah,
I
this is
know.
good.
I'm excited about your new book. I
Me
love
too.
your new book. So here for everyone who hasn't purchased it yet, here we go. Straightforward, simple strength meditations for wisdom, balance, and power. And you came out of retirement basically to write this book.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did. It actually came out of retirement for the third time.
Okay.
And it was kind of weird just because I went down to the New Age International New Age Trade Fair where we met, I
Yes.
believe. Yes, a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I was just going with a friend of mine who buys things for our church gift store. And my publisher was there, or my former publisher.
Uh-huh.
And so I hadn't even expected them to be there. And so the head honcho was there, which is unusual for him. And he said at one point, "So Sue, would you ever think about writing another book?" And I said, "God, no. Why would I do that?" And so he said, "Well, think about it." And driving home, I came up with a book. Well, I always try to write, Jan, with topics that I'm working with.
Mhm.
And so what I was working with hugely then was acceptance. And it was right after the election, and there were things in the public and my personal life that were difficult to accept. And so I just got all excited about it and everything. But when I sent off my prospectus, or whatever you call it, with the table of contents and my idea about the theme of it, the editor came back to me and said, "Well, you know what? I've checked around and I can't sell a book that has acceptance in the title." Ah, okay. And so he said to me, "What does acceptance mean to you?" And the first thing out of my mouth was strength.
Mm.
And so he said, "I can use that." And so and then you know how it is when you're writing, how things just pour in and you're just crazy with ideas. That's what happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I love that it came from some place deep inside you, and maybe also some place with a bigger consciousness, a larger mind and plan, because this is so important right now, this topic.
Yeah. I have what I call my crew uh, that I work with, or I mean, work with. It sounds weird. I just have this group of beings, entities. My mother, she just came in one day and sashayed right in between Mary and Jesus. It was so cute, and then also I think I have a couple of writing guides, and um, somebody asked me the other day, "Is your book channeled?" And no, it isn't that at all. But I sure do feel inspired.
Yeah.
And some of the times, I know you felt this, some of the times the writing just pours through. And some of the times it takes a little more contemplation to get the ideas going. But this was, I had to first kind of drain off a bunch of angst. So when I sent in my first deadline to have the introduction, which was 27 pages long, which of course you just don't do. And so when the editor called back, he said, "Well, so the blurbs, those little small sections, just sing. Now we have to work on the introduction." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Okay, so that third paragraph on the first page, and then the second to the last paragraph on the last page." And I said, "Okay, I'll cut those out." And he said, "No, cut everything out between them."
Oh my gosh.
And And then I was quiet for a while, and he said, "Are you crying?"
Oh, but it got to the heart. Okay, so that's my question. Like, so what is the heart of this? What do you want women to take from this?
I want women to recognize that they have always had strength, that the whole world, this is what I believe and what a friend of mine said the other day, is really women are always and have always been the underlying strength. Well, I would say the feminine energy because, we both, men and women, have both masculine and feminine. But right now, Jan, in my opinion, the shadow side of the masculine is very much in control and very out there. And so what I want this book to help with is to bring our world back into balance. We are absolutely out of balance. I just saw that Melinda Gates wrote a book, and the subtitle of her book is How Empowering Women Changes the World. And I think it's a little more crucial than that right now. I think empowering women, or the feminine, will save the world. If that needs to happen, and it does, then we need to do it right here first. And to tell you the truth, writing this book changed me. I am, that gave me kind of little chills. That was kind of fun. I'm just different. I've always been strong, but I've also always, I was born and raised with you step back and let the men take the lead. You do everything in the world to make them happy, because of course that's your job. I think it's our jobs to make ourselves and as many people as we can happy. We can only make ourselves, though, really. And now it's like I have this core that I haven't had before, a core of knowing. And when I can ask for what I want and need from that core, then it isn't laced with resentment or guilt-provoking or victimization. Because that's one of the big shadow sides of the feminine, is victimization, with good reason. We have, in fact, been victimized and dismissed and downplayed and not listened to and overrun and all that stuff. But I see these young women coming into Congress and so forth, and they have that solid core. What I hope people can see with this book is you can absolutely own your strength in a soft and complimentary and understanding and kind way. You don't have to just be a man in a pantsuit. You just don't. You can do it if we get in touch with our genuine and our authentic self. It's strong. It's strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. You mentioned a couple things so far that we decided we were going to talk about ahead of time. You kind of dropped some little seeds here, and so I'd like to pick up on those. What for everyone who's listening, everyone whose heart you're touching, who is paying attention to this, what do you mean by the feminine?
Okay, the feminine to me is, I've got a whole list of their qualities, but it's in a nutshell, the feminine within women and men is the relational aspects of us, the aspects of us that complement, look for connection, that care and are compassionate and tolerant and inclusive. And the masculine is, so if the feminine is relational, the masculine is rational. And we need that. I mean,
Right.
the whole world needs that. And the feminine is also the conceiver and birther. And the masculine is more the doer. And Gene and I, my husband, Gene and I are a really good example. When a zillion years ago, when I wrote the book that we met because of, The Courage to Be Yourself was the name of it. It was one of those things that I had to write. I didn't have any plans to be an author, but I just had to write it. And Gene said, finding a publisher is going to take too much time. I'll publish it. And so he went out and he learned how to self-publish. You know, I had the calling, so to speak, or the compulsion. It was actually a compulsion. And he had the wherewithal to do it. That's a beautiful complementation of masculine and feminine energies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I just happen to have the book too. I know it's not in print anymore, but you know, if anybody can grab a copy,
it's out there.
It is.
That's Heart-Centered Marriage.
I know. I mean, this is amazing. And this is where you have that, one of the places you have that wonderful list of the feminine qualities, the masculine qualities, and it's all relational. And you wrote this, and then Jean, of course, was very much involved in the process, I assume. So Heart-Centered Marriage, it's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Fulfilling our natural desire for sacred partnership. I love this subtitle. So, and you talk in that book, and you talk in all of your other books about the sacred feminine.
Yeah.
And so for our purposes, I'm just wondering can you give voice to what is the distinction between the feminine and the sacred feminine? And how do you view each? Many of us today would say that we are feeling called by the sacred feminine, or we have a relationship with the sacred feminine. And yet, I also know that's a term that can frighten some people or put them off because of, especially within Christianity and other patriarchal traditions, where the divine is perceived as masculine. And so this idea of the sacred feminine. So could you just say a little bit about that?
Well, there's in everything, there's a mother-father aspect. For me, the sacred feminine is the mother aspect. And I have that feminine quality, as do you. But I also have a shadow aspect in my human femininity. Sacred feminine, I don't think has that shadow. She just is the loving, compassionate, she's the ideal. The spiritual, not the human. We have that, but we also decided to come down and wear these little people suits. We took our light and we put it in this little people suit, and sometimes the people suit dims the light a lot. Not so with the sacred feminine. Sacred feminine is sacred and not shadowy. Yeah.
And so it can also be, she can also be, this is a part of us, is what I'm hearing you saying. This is maybe our essence.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, I think
our
just
nature?
sacred is our essence.
Yeah.
But we have, in that, we have both the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. Yeah. But the sacred feminine has been dismissed and left out of the equation. Not so much now, you know. And even the patriarchal churches, like the Catholic Church, have had the feminine. They had it in Mary and all of the other saints that you can come up with that are feminine. So it's been there. She's been there. She just hasn't been given the voice that we desperately need her to have now, Jan. We desperately need that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We needed to keep our kids safe. Part of the introduction to Strength was written right after one of the high school shootings. Oh, my heart was just torn out of my body. And I was in a little church group at the time, and I wrote these 2 paragraphs and read them to them. And it was just basically, it's no longer a choice. We need to honor our own sacred feminine, both men and women, so that we can balance our world back, so the heart and mind have equal balance, and competitiveness does not run rampant like it does now. And winning at all costs, and lack of civility, and all that stuff that's just so out there now, and children killing children. The sacred feminine in us teaches and cares for children so that they feel whole enough that they don't have to do stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, I'm going to pause our recording because I want us to think about some of the things you talked about.
Okay.
And reflect on those, because there's so much there. There's so much there. And especially to think about maybe how we can tap into the sacred feminine within ourselves. So to take a pause, and then we're going to talk again in a moment about that. Okay. Thank you so much so far.
Thank you.